Let's choose that.
Sounds good to me.
And okay, hello. So,
hey!
So welcome everybody, Friday edition of our Empowered Motherhood Vital Physiotherapy lives. And I'm super excited to be live with you, Olethea. And so
Thanks, Hannah.
We have been doing these pretty regularly because pretty much anything I want to know, I'm like, I'm just going to ask the person that I want to ask and I'll go live and do it that way. So I'm really, really excited to be chatting with you today because we are all at home right now. This has been our 8th week and we are trying to manage the homes, the careers, the kids for those of us with children. And you are somebody who is amazing at helping us navigate that. So for those of you for those of us who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and let the world know how fabulous you are?
Oh, thanks. I can live up to that. My name is Olethea. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I am a small business owner. I'm a mom. And I have an online practice. I've had an online practice now for a while, so it makes it really easy to come see me online. And the thing that I really love doing is I love helping women level up, and that's leveling up in their relationship, that's leveling up in their career. Most of the time when clients come to find me, they've either been experiencing a bit of burnout, they've been feeling some imposter syndrome, they've been feeling kind of like, they're letting other people down. Maybe you can relate to some of this.
What? Who has been feeling that?
Who?
Oh my gosh. Every person I talk to right now is like, I'm mothering, but I'm not mothering good enough. And I'm doing working, but it's not good enough. Or, there's a lot of that happening right now.
Yeah, completely. And, right now I can just feel, right? Like the level is so much higher. And the thing that I help is people come in with their anxious, they're coming in with mental health stuff, and I help support that. I help ground it in the body. And then after that, people are like, whoa, because it sometimes feels hard when you're juggling so many things. It's like, hey, is there another way to do this? People come and just be like, hey, help me get better compartments, right? I just need to compartmentalize it a little better. I need to just get the logistics going a bit better. I just need to be able to just kind of figure out how to time manage it a bit better. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of the strategy coming in. And I'm like, hey, we'll support you, support your body, really look at what you're doing. And then clients are like, you know what, how I feel so awesome. I feel so together. I feel so good. I want this in every part of my life. And I'm like, yes, let's do that. Yeah.
So, okay. Are you finding, and this is something that's, I'm finding, I'm going to fix my Instagram for a second while we're chatting, but I'm finding that, it's almost like the feelings that we came into this pandemic with, like the things that we're worrying about, aside from the obvious pandemic, the things that we're worrying about in our day-to-day life right now are sort of things that have always been there, but now they're just bigger. Like, are you, I don't know, is that something that you're experiencing as well?
Completely. And here's
I thought you were going to be like, not at all.
No. New fears, new situation. And actually this is a big thing that I've been offering everybody that I've been talking to, because it can kind of suddenly feel like, oh my goodness, we have all of these new fears right now. It's kind of like, I'm not handling the homeschool situation well, or I'm not able to do this well, or I'm just feeling so overwhelmed by just the noise my kids are making, right? It's like, how can I dial that down? And the thing that I've been saying, which is exactly what you're saying, is I've been asking clients to do a bit of a fear reframe. So to say hey, if you're a small business owner and you've been a little bit afraid, hey, clients are going to go, or I might have to slash my prices, or I'm feeling a little bit scared that maybe I'm going to get, have my hours reduced at work. And, I kind of have to ask and check, right? Hey, is this a fear from before? And most of the times the minute I ask that, they're like, oh, right. If you've been feeling like you're not doing a good enough job parenting, and then you see someone's Instagram feed with everybody's homeschool setup, and you're like, oh my gosh, how are they doing that? Right. And then I have to check and ask, and I was like, hey, check, right? Is this something that you've been kind of feeling like you're already not doing this that well beforehand? Right. And that kind of really helps, because, the minute you can, because now it can feel like, oh, new fear, but it's but the minute you can reframe that and say, no, this is normal fear. It's just that right now.
I've always felt shitty about this. Great.
Yeah, you know what? The minute you can say that, right? It's like, that's just you doing you, right? Then
Yes.
then you can be, then I can come back and say like, hey, how did you cope with that before, right? And like, what was supported before, and like, how do you like talk yourself down from that, right? If you feel like you own a business and you feel like everybody's gonna leave, it's like, okay, so how, like, what is actually gonna happen? Like, what support do you need, right? Because like, if you're in a new fear, you're like, I'm just gonna freeze and do nothing. But if we're
Yes.
like, this is old you stuff, then we can do something.
Well, what if some of these coping mechanisms before were not good coping mechanisms? So let's say like, oh yeah, I've always been fearful that my business is going to close, that I'm a bad mother, or that, that I'm going to get fired. Like, and then we would have a glass of wine at night, and now we're having 6 glasses of wine at night. Like what if those coping skills weren't great to start off with? And then this again is just magnifying the fact that we haven't yet really solidified awesome skills in the coping area, in that arena,
So you're really asking, right? Like, what if someone, am I allowed to swear? Like, what if someone had shitty skills beforehand? So if someone has shitty skills beforehand and now they realize, oh my gosh, my coping coping skills are even worse now, right? Yes. Because you're right. It is kind of, this is the part, right, where it is kind of really tricky. If you have been having a hard time with your partner or your spouse, right, communication is not going to clear up all of a sudden. If you have been the person who's been doing more out of guilt at home, and now all of a sudden you're trying to just keep it together because you're like, I'm the mom, I don't want you holding our baby or our little guy while you're doing the calls, I don't want to feel like I'm a bad parent, right? Of course that's going to be magnified. Right. And the thing that is tricky is that it is actually a lot scary right now. The thing that I'm noticing, it's like really scary for people to think about getting help or to think about like talking to somebody, because it feels like I'm doing everything I can to hold it together. I'm doing everything I can just to keep it going. I think that if I get help right now, it's just going to like completely topple everything, right? And
it's another thing to have to do.
Yeah, and it's another thing that's going to just totally, I'm going to be just a puddle. Right? Yeah. And this is the thing that I want to speak to, right? Because this is the same thing as before. It's like, hey, why didn't you ever get help before? We have great benefits, right? Like my services are covered by most workplaces. If you have, just like Physio, right? If you have extended health benefits, if you have a training and development budget, like this is the kind of support that is covered. And it's not necessarily always like financial. It's not necessarily always time, but it's kind of like, hey, this is how I've adapted. I've adapted by being overwhelmed, by being controlling, by trying to doing everything. And the fear from before is still like, hey, if I get help, I'm going to have to suddenly not care about success, or I'm still going to have to care about like, slowing down and meditating, right? And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. Or people are like, I'm just going to be a mess and I'm going to cry nonstop if I come and see you right now.
Right.
And I think
easier to ignore it than to actually address it during this time.
Exactly. And I think that fear is definitely magnified now, right? So like, because, there is no easy way for me to say, oh yeah, right? Like just start your morning with a meditation, right? Like that's not really going to work if you're just, if you're in such a stressful place, right? And again, the thing is that, hey, if you are coming in for some support right now, like this is the time to do it. This is the time to get the support that you need, because you can really see, whatever you're doing has not been working, and like how much longer will you be able to like hold this together? Right? Because your body is like, 1 90-minute massage post all of this might not be enough to like get you out of here.
If we're allowed to have massage, my goodness.
Yeah, right? Like post all of this.
Yeah. So it really comes down to number one, like looking at the things that we're scared of and being like, okay, what did I do before? And was what I was doing before, was it actually helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. And then also, also looking for your support system, at a time like this, it can feel kind of like, should I just put some of these things on pause, right? If I've been doing body work, if I've been like doing some of my like exercises for my back, because now I'm working from home and I feel so tight and tense. And like, what, maybe this is the time, right, that you are able to prioritize supporting yourself, right? Because this is the thing that I like to say, right? It's like, we often think of like self-care, right? And self-care is like going to get your nails done, going for a blowout, going for, all the things that we're missing right now. But it's like, hey, what's the opportunity in this moment to self-support, right? And self-support is that thing where you're checking in the moment what you need, rather than being like, okay, once I'm done doing my whole busy hectic schedule, maybe once once my child's in summer camp, or maybe once this is happening, or this, it's like, oh, then I will look after myself, right? And it's like, oh, what's possible, right, in this moment? Even if you're not going to go into therapy, if you're not going to go into like getting some body work, right? Like, what's the possibility in the moment of supporting yourself?
So asking for a friend, what if in that moment you have 4 children who you're homeschooling while running a business and seeing clients and doing the home care and doing the, making sure that everybody's alive, aside from the education, making sure they're fed and, sleeping maybe at a relatively reasonable time. We've given up on bedtimes in my house right now. But like, where are the snippets of time that you recommend that somebody like takes those self-care moments, as opposed to having, a massage, which is never happening right now, for the next little while. But like, what does that look like in a realistic, from a realistic point of view for people who are trying to work full-time and educate full-time and do the home care?
So look, right, Hannah, I want
Asking
to
for a
just
friend.
check. Asking for a friend, right? In an asking for a friend scenario, I just want to even check, right? Like, even as you were asking for a friend, right? Like, what was happening for you in your body, right? Like, what were you noticing as you were asking that question?
Your heart rate goes up. You start to feel tightness in your chest. You're like, there's just a very visceral response, right? For sure.
Yeah, so hey, look, right? Like, if I was supporting you in this moment, I was checking in for myself, I'd say, yeah, my heart is like racing as if I've just stopped the watch on the marathon. I'm like, got a marathon soon, like again, right? It's like, I got a marathon again. And it's like, I know I'm breathing, but like the breath isn't really like doing its thing to go all the way into my body. Right? And so, like the first part that I say is like, hey, look, right? Like you're just going to cope, right? And I could tell you like strategy. But the first part is like, hey, in that moment, right? Even as you're just feeling the emotional load of that, even as you're just feeling that, you're like, what's happening, right? And then it's not to like, necessarily have to breathe, but to just say like, oh, like this is feeling tight. This is feeling uncomfortable. This, like, maybe there's a little tiny bit of jaw tension, right? But the racing heart, right? It's like, oh, like what does my racing heart need, right? Like if I were just to give it a little bit of time, like how could I support that a little better? Right. And it's kind of like, maybe, because sometimes it can feel like, oh, when can I prioritize that? It's like, oh, when can you prioritize looking after your heart? Right? If we say it like that, it's like, oh, that's ridiculous.
Oh,
like,
well.
like hopefully before a panic attack happens, like maybe you need to start being able to and that's the thing, right? Because so many times we can just ask it in a way of time, or we can ask it in a way of strategy. But if we were actually just in that moment, like check in with our body, it's like, oh, right, if my heart is like racing, right? If I don't like just give it a little bit of support in this moment, right? Like, hey, what happens? What does that look like, right? What happens when I'm going into a meeting and I'm starting to feel a bit of panic, right? What happens when I'm starting to feel more anxiety? So rather than feeling of it as a prioritization, like seeing like, hey, can we just like stay in the sensation, right? Because like, honestly, all the things that your friend is doing,
My friend.
whoa, right? All the things that your friend is doing.
Whoever she might.
Whoa. Whoever this woman in Toronto may be. Right? And I can feel that, right? Like I can feel, right, when I'm like, hand off, right? And it's like, I need to come here now, types of emails like, hand off. Right? So
Can you even hear the way, I'm always hyper and speaking very quickly, but even listen to the way that you speak and at the pace that I speak.
Yeah, right. Because it's like, hey, we gotta hit that message. We gotta
move, people.
We gotta move, prioritize, schedule, and look, right. Like this was me, for your friend, right? Just doing a demo, right, of what could be possible, right? Of not to go into, because it's not about like, here's the thing, right? I feel like sometimes the misconception is that if I go in, we're gonna have to talk about every shitty thing. No one has the time, right? It's just about, hey, how can I offer you support in this moment, right? And also like, how can you support your body in the moment? So it's not just to like do that kind of breath, right? Be like, oh, I'm just noticing, right? If we just go into sensation first, like I'm just noticing that this is happening. I'm just noticing that this is happening, right? And if we were to check, like, hey, what does my racing heart need, right? Is it okay if my racing heart says, you know what, like right now, maybe we need to do a field trip in the afternoon, right? And the field trip is just like letting the kids go outside for a little bit.
Yeah.
and doing something that, you know, is field trippy.
So that would feel counterproductive though, when somebody is thinking about maximizing, you know, improving their career while at home. So can you speak to a little bit how, for those who feel like that's counterproductive, how is that going to enhance their career objectives and their motherhood objectives at the same time?
Yeah. Okay, so, you know, like the thing that I noticed, right, that I see with a lot of women is that they're so focused on the process, right? And this is how, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I could ask my partner for help, but like he's doing it like this or she's doing it like this. And, you know, like if I have to do it, like this is how I want it done, right? And I see the same behavior because like how we are in one place is how we're in all the places. So I see the same thing, even if someone has an immune assistant.
How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? I love it.
Yeah. So even if you have a team, or if you have an admin assistant, or if you have someone else that you're managing, right, it can be like the more freaked out you are about outcome, the more you want to focus on every part of the process.
Yes.
Right. And this is so counterproductive because if you really want to get the outcome, you have to be able to loosen the control to being like, you know what, this is the outcome that I wanted. I'm going to be really clear on the outcome. I'm going to be really clear on the expectation. What do you think? How can you support me in that? Because the thing that changes is that the more anxious we get, the more out of control we feel, the more we want to really control the outcome. And what that looks like then is that we want to control the entire process.
And that's less productive. That's a less productive place to be.
Completely. Because then everybody's just an obstacle. You're like, when can you actually just be out of the picture? So
it's like, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, right? Because you're like, thank you for offering to do this, this, or this, but really, here's what I, you know, and then people are just sitting around being like, okay, well, I don't know what to do, right? And this is a conversation that I have to have with clients around, hey, are you clear about what the outcome is that you want? And can you also be really clear, right, just on having one or two outcomes? Because sometimes there are outcomes that are good to have or nice to have, right? But it's like, hey, what, you know, like I like this, right? Like, it's like, what is like, if we only have energy to throw like one big stone, right? And if we throw this one big stone that it's going to have the biggest impact, like, you know, what is that big thing that if we did would like have the biggest impact, right? So this is, again, not about looking externally, because so many times we can kind of look for places to compare with, right? Of like, oh, well, this person's doing this and this person's doing this with their kids, or this person's doing this in their business. And it's like, hey, can you go internally to say like, hey, are you clear on like what the number is that you want to be able to hit? Or if you're trying to go for a promotion, do you have a really clear sense, right, for yourself internally before you just start doing stuff of like, what is the thing that would make the biggest impact, right? And this is about what is the thing for you? Because sometimes it's not always just the money. Sometimes for some people, it's like, hey, you know, it would make the biggest impact if I was working 4 days a week. It would make the biggest impact if I was doing work just on this project, which is really important to me. This is really key to me. And I don't want to be doing all of this other stuff. So, you know, before, rather than talk, because sometimes it can just be like, let's prioritize. It's like, you know, you can't prioritize because all you're doing is just shuffling everything.
Right.
So it's like, okay, can you be really clear on like what's important for you? What is it, the thing that you value? What is the thing that you really need for yourself, whether in your business, in parenting, and being a partner? And then can you really be clear, right, in like telling other people, hey, this is the outcome. This is the thing that I'm really passionate about. And like, how can you help me? How can you support me in this? Right? Because that's like a much calmer place than here are my 50 to-dos.
500.
Here's my 500 to-dos. Please, everybody move out of my way. Just don't even talk. Don't chew loudly around me.
It's a huge pet peeve.
Highly sensitive, right? When you're just like, I just need to be in the zone. I need to just, what happened to me? Right? It's like, don't chew loudly around me. I just have to think. I just need to
zone in.
Yeah, yeah.
So if there were during this time, you know, a couple of key take-home messages that you think that we as parents who are working at home would like, that they're like the 2 to 3 things that you would really want us to take away from this in order to thrive in our careers and in managing parenthood right now, what would those be?
Hey, so, you know, like the one thing that I want to speak about, right, is like actually in talking to all of the clients and people I've been talking to, there have been a lot of benefits and advantages for people. This is, not a great time. This is not ideal. But I have noticed, I'm like, hey, you look a lot better right now. It doesn't look like you've had any migraines in the past couple of weeks. And they're like, yeah, I don't have to commute. I don't have to do this. And actually, I thought I had to do my job this way. Turns out I can do it this way, right? So rather than saying like, this is awful, let's get out of here as quick as possible, right? Even like for you, Hannah, like, what is different in your business that you felt like before, like, oh, this didn't have to be possible. Now you're like, oh, wait a minute, like here's something that might be, a little bit different, right? So because in every opportunity, there's a place to see something new, to experience something new, and then to take something from there. Right? So rather than just being like, how can we get through this? It's like, hey, what's the opportunity here, right? Like, what's the thing that's a little bit of a gift that you're kind of like, hey, I didn't really think of this. I never thought that I could do my job online. For a lot of therapists, they've never thought that you can do that. And now they're like, oh, this is actually really possible. Right? Yep. So like before you go
There's so much there,
there's
right?
There's so much that's
our clients
possible.
Are doing so well. And we always, I think, I don't want to say over, we put so much of our frame of mind was on like what we have to do for our clients. And the reality is like the self-efficacy of having a client take care of themselves. They're getting better faster.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, hey, look, right? Like rather than being like, how can I get through this? First I want to be like, hey, if, and this is the part where people feel guilty because they're like, yeah, I don't want to say, but it's like, hey, but what is actually working for you, right? Is not having to commute, is not having to like, just get to work, not having to do that, is not having
family
to be
meals. We're home for family meals.
Right. So I'm not being like, find the silver lining, right? I'm not being cheap like that, but I am just saying, hey, look at some of the things, right, that you didn't think were possible and see how it's actually impacting your life. Yeah. And if these are some of the things, it's like, hey, how could you actually see yourself advocating for some of these things going forward? For some of my clients, being able to be at home and not having to like have that drain of even just going into work or having to do that is really impacting them. And I'm kind of saying like, hey, can there be a plan, right? Like if you don't actually have to, if you've seen this, it's a huge, cost saving for your employer. Is this something that you could actually like implement or talk about for yourself, right? And even just looking at, I would not think it's possible for my partner and I both to work full time and to have our daughter and to do all of these things. And it's like, actually, we're doing it. It's working. It's not the best. So, kind of looking at, right, like what is working in this moment? If you're giving yourself permission to like take some of these good things and like move it into the next post part of your life, right? Like what would that be like? Right. And then the second part, right, which is the same thing, is like, hey, if you were giving yourself more permission, right, to do the thing that you needed to like bring yourself into like alignment or into integrity, right, what would that look like? Right? Because this is like such an awful thing, but it's been so helpful in so many ways for some people, right? Not for everybody. But if you could actually give yourself permission to say, hey, like what would it be like, right? Like if I could actually see what I needed for myself, if I could actually like advocate for that, if I could actually just even get clear, right? We don't even have to get to the place where we're telling other people what we want, right? Because the first part is sometimes we just feel guilty saying like, what, actually this is great. I love this part. Right? So it's like, if you were thinking about how to get through this, the first part I would say is, hey, where's the place that you're going kind of from an automatic place, right? Where you're just following the rules, you're just like asking others for what you should be doing. If we were to flip that a little bit, and if you were to be in the place where you're giving yourself permission, where you're making the rules for a little bit for yourself, right? Like maybe homeschooling according to the teacher's guidelines, maybe that's not possible for you right now.
It's not. It's not happening.
Maybe,
I'll just tell you right now.
Hey, I have,
there's a lot of outdoor play happening.
Yeah, and you know what? And honestly, I don't think that's bad. That's, again, I have my education degree. I have my master's from OEC, experiential learning, right? But like, to really think, right? Like if you were able to give yourself permission, if you were to like take that permission rather than feeling like you needed someone else to okay what you were doing in your life, if you were to give yourself permission for the thing that you needed to do right now, you would be in a much easier place, right? I know I'm not giving you a strategy, but that's what you need to think.
So it's so funny. So I really anticipated you being like, okay, you're going to time block, you're going to this, you're going to that, but this is doable.
No, I know. I don't have any of the suggestions.
I love it. But at the end of the day, that's going to be a huge difference maker for me, for sure.
Yeah.
So what does life look like in your ideal situation?
For me?
Yeah. After, like if you were, for yourself and for your clients, like what does the post-COVID life look like and a dream for you?
Okay. I love that you asked this question. Hey, so look, right? Like I work for myself. I'm a therapist. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I have an online practice, and all of these things that I've done have been to like support myself. I coach other therapists. I coach other entrepreneurs, and like really help. The thing that I do, right, and like coaching you to level up is like really getting clear on what you need. So like I had to do that for myself because I can't just offer it to you. So for me, it was like, hey, this is the money that I need. I can only see like XX amount of clients, and I only want to work 3 days a week, right? That's it. So pre all of this, that's what I was doing. Right now, I'm doing a little bit more because, I've been like wanting to support more people. I'm doing a little bit more, but like the thing that I'm saying is like, hey, actually, like I've already, because like a lot of business planning or career moving up, right? Because for me, it's all about, hey, you can have all the success, but like, does it feel good in your body? Right? Can you do it in a way that actually feels supported for you? And sometimes people are like, oh yeah, but that's not going to work for me. So it's like, hey, can you be clear, right, on what is it that you could need for yourself? So for me, my pre-life in terms of how I run my business and how I'm with my daughter and how I'm with my family, that's already great. Post, right, the thing that can happen once all of this is gone is like, oh my gosh, I go for a swim every day, and that just helps. And like that's the thing that I'm most looking forward to doing, right? Because like that's the thing that I miss, and being able to like take my daughter to the park and take her out. So for me, all of the parts of my business already run in a way that is like really feels good for me, and like it feels good for me, and then I can really support the other person.
And are you finding with your clients that their businesses, that their careers are going to look different, that they're hoping that it's going to look different afterwards?
For a lot of people, I think that they have had these fears, right, of like what's not possible. And now when they're, this time feels like, hey, maybe more is possible, right? And maybe they're kind of thinking like, hey, maybe like I always thought of it that it had to be this way. And, I always thought that I had to put in like 5 days a week. And hey, all of a sudden they're telling us like, you only have access to this much time. Like, what are you getting done? Right? So I definitely feel like for some clients, and also, right, like the other thing is, this is, it's leveling up is great, but I always have to ask like, hey, are you really doing the work that you're passionate about? Right? Because all of a sudden when you're at home and you don't have like the fun distractions and the fun colleagues and the coworkers and the time to chat, and you're just doing your work, you're like, actually, I'm not that interested in this project, or I'm actually not that interested in this part. Right? And there's no other distractions to keep you on task. There's no other, you don't have all that friendly, fun stuff happening in between. So the people who are kind of feeling like, hey, I don't really think that this project or this part is really the thing that I'm passionate about. I think it's making it a lot more clear, like, hey, if there's so much happening around you and you're so drained, like, is your job something that's giving you energy? Is your job something that's exciting and fun and like a place of refuge? Right? Because like, this is hilarious. Right? I'm a therapist. I listen to a lot of different things, but my job, like, when all this is happening, I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, like, can you hold on to our daughter? Like, I have to go see a client, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God. Like, I get to come here and I get to do something that I really enjoy. And like, yes, love, right? And this then is a part that is like good, right? And so I feel like clients who have just been like, I really wanted this job, I really felt like it would be good for the money, or it'd be good for this or for that, and like, in 5 years it would help me do this, are suddenly realizing like, hey, like, this is a place that I'm actually feeling either bored, or I'm not feeling that excited, or I'm just kind of, I don't know if I can hang on. Right? It has to be something that I enjoy in this moment.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So for people who want to know more about you, where can they go?
You can check out my website. It's opimenta.ca. And if you Google Olethea psychotherapy, which, it's like psychotherapy, but don't be alarmed. It's like coaching online, relationships, success.
I love it. And that's your tagline, right? Success without anxiety.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. This has been such a pleasure. I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, I was expecting some like time blocking strategies, and I can do this. And I hope that all of you can as well. If anybody is interested, please go find Olethea on your website, follow her on Facebook and Instagram. If you are joining us on Instagram, come join us in the Empowered Motherhood group on Facebook. And let us know, tag us, and let us know how has this impacted your career at home during this very enjoyable time during quarantine. I can't thank you enough. Have an amazing weekend, everybody. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Okay, take care, Hannah.
Thank you. I'm going to end here.